Welcome to Let's Talk Teaching. This is our very first webinar of the year. We always try and do a webinar in the last week of every month. And obviously January, we were all just getting back into the swing of things. And so we decided to do our first one in February. And what an exciting topic tonight. But before I get into that, Education Services, I just wanted to sort of touch on a little bit about what we try and do in Port Elizabeth and to assist teachers with your very, very important job in the classroom. You know, these days, children are very complex little people. They come with all kinds of challenges, backgrounds, environments that they are in, different schools, different classrooms, different settings, different setups. And often you'll find in your classroom that there will be a child who is just not progressing as well as possibly he or she could or should. And you don't really know what to do. Maybe you don't know what could be the problem, what could be the challenge. And that is where Education Services comes in. We started Education Services to be that first port of call, the first person that you phone or WhatsApp or email would be Education Services. And so when we started this webinar, I had a QR code up there because we have a special group for teachers called Education Services. It's a Facebook group. And really, that is your tribe. That is where you can find support if you have any kind of particular position, and we do post those vacancies on Education Services. And we also have a WhatsApp line. That WhatsApp number, again, you should be able to WhatsApp that number anytime, and you will get a reply within 24 hours maximum. You'll get a reply if you have, like I said, any concerns or any challenges within the classroom, and you need somebody to just listen in and be that objective person, specifically with regards to neurodiversity and neurodivergence. So a child with autism, a child with ADHD, a child with dyslexia, and you're throwing your hands up in the air and you're going, how do I help this child? Where do I find resources? How do I really support and assist this learner in my class? I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. We have all the resources that you could possibly need. So get hold of us. Like I said, we are there to serve and we want to help you. But without further ado, so AI. Everywhere you look, people are talking about AI. You can't go to a braai or you can't go to a gathering where somebody mentions AI. And I was thinking to myself, who would be the best person to have a webinar with, who knows AI, who understands AI, who uses it every day, who could kind of bring some perspective. And the person that I contacted, and I'm so happy that he agreed to join us tonight, is my friend Ajit. I first met Ajit at I think I was invited on a tour to go and have a look at Jendamark, at the robots and the robotics type. I don't know what you would even call it. They were just these incredible, fascinating things. And I was honestly, as a teacher who had never really been exposed to manufacturing, and it was there that I sort of thought to myself, there are people doing incredible things here in Port Elizabeth, and this sector, this incredible sector. And so Ajit, he and I have been sort of chatting back and forth over the years. I'm going to read his bio before I bring him on, because he is just an incredible human. He's so passionate about AI, and he's doing such incredible things with schools and in schools. So he looks at technology as a vehicle for making societal impact, right? So if you think about how we use technology and what technology is and how we use technology in the classroom, the first thing I think about when I think about technology would be, wow, we're bringing in these whiteboards, we're bringing in these data projectors, we're bringing in robotics, coding, we're teaching children about technology and sense, and the STEAM is so important. Who's almost a leader, bringing incredible devices and opportunities into the schools, specifically EdTech, and specifically in the underprivileged schools, where these children are able to access technology and they are not getting left behind. So I want you to please welcome Ajit onto the stage with me. And we're going to really just chat about AI, teachers using AI, and how we can certainly unpack this very fascinating topic. So Ajit, welcome to Let's Talk Teaching. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Philippa. I hope you can hear me. The video is a little bit jerky on my side, but I can hear you very well.
Okay, perfect. Ajit, I also forgot to mention that you and I both share a common, well, Sir Ken Robinson, I think, was one of your influences. And he was mine too. I remember watching a few of his TED Talks and being blown away by this man. And I think teachers, if you haven't watched or if you haven't seen Sir Ken Robinson's TED Talks, on, or he's got a few, Finding Your Purpose, using technology, bringing in the arts into schools. Go and have a look at Sir Ken Robinson. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. He passed away, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. But his legacy lives on. And maybe, Ajit, you will be the next Ken Robinson for us.
No, I don't think that's way too high a bar. But I share your sort of admiration for him and what he used to say. I think the thing that really resonated with me when I first heard his talks was he spoke about every child being unique and every child being talented. Um, and he said this line that stuck with me. He says, don't ask how intelligent is your child, ask how is your child intelligent, because every child has
Right.
capability and talent, and it's about discovering that and understanding how to unlock that. So I was very much on this journey because of how he influenced me. So yeah, I share your passion and admiration for what he said.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm hoping from this webinar, we are going to be sort of looking at three main themes. And I think for teachers, because I think we're all a bit nervous about this AI, right? So what I want to try and do is let's demystify AI, looking at, the hype around AI and how to see how it can actually enhance and enrich our human performance, right? Because at the end of the day, we all need to perform in the classroom, in our jobs, at home, in our everyday life. So we're going to be demystifying AI. Then we're going to be looking at future-ready upskilling, because at the end of the day, we are future skilling our kids. The kids that are in our classrooms, we want to make sure that when they leave us, they are going to be ready for a future that we cannot see yet. And we cannot certainly see what the future is going to look like by the time our kids sitting in grade R or grade 1 get out of the schooling system. So future-ready skills. And then the last one is, I suppose, practical things. Practical things. What are the potential dangers? And what are the ethics? Like in a high-tech world, right? We need to be making sure that we are protecting ourselves from a rather there are no boundaries here. And there certainly are no rules either. Very few rules. It's kind of like this runaway train, right? And we're all trying to make sure that we're on it. So those are the three main themes that we're going to unpack today. But I want to start off, Ajit, with a question. So what is one thing, or maybe, what is one thing that you would want teachers to go away from this webinar with today?
Well, I think it's just understanding that it's a little bit more understanding that AI is very different to what we've seen in the past. I feel very much that people don't understand the technology and therefore are misinterpreting it in a lot of ways and misinterpreting its uses. I mean, so I think if there was one thing I wanted to teachers to take away is just understanding the technology a little bit deeper and therefore maybe having some clues on how to really leverage it rather than having expectations that maybe are misaligned to what the technology is about.
Right. So it's that whole sort of leveraging it, understanding it, feeling safe with it, and using it to its fullest potential. And not
Correct.
being
I
scared of
think,
it.
yeah. I mean, I think there are definitely things to worry about with AI. I think we're definitely in an environment that is changing, in an environment where nobody really understands what's going to change, what the future looks like, including myself. Um, so there's definitely things to be cautious, and I don't dismiss people's concerns. However, I think once you understand how it's made and what it's good for, you're able to leverage that in a much better way, and be at least aware of the risks around how you're using the technology. Are you guys there?
It's okay, we're back.
I lost you for a second there, Philippa.
No worries. I think you were saying things that you are concerned about. What are some of the things that you are concerned about with AI?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's two things I'm concerned about. I think one is us missing out on the rapidly changing world. So Odin's very much about making sure that this kind of technology is not restricted to a few pockets around the world, and we don't get left behind. And then I think the second thing that I'm worried about is that we don't build our own future, and then we let other people build our future for us with perhaps different agendas. So one is, not being left behind and keeping up, and two, making sure where we end up is where we want to be rather than what other people kind of determine for us. Um, these are the two really important things that I think we as a city, as a country, need to think about. And yeah, those are the concerns for me. If you ask me two concerns in the space, that's what I would be concerned about.
And then I suppose on the flip side, knowing what you do about AI and how it's developing, what is something that you're particularly excited about that you would want teachers to know?
Yeah, so I think with Ken Robinson, and I think why you and I resonated so much with what he said was, the fact that the education system treats everybody the same, is very standardized, is designed around a production line. I think AI provides a once in a lifetime opportunity to make education about each learner and to make it about augmenting their inner true selves, their talents and capabilities, and not having this one size fits all system, and also a one framework of success. Yeah. AI is incredibly powerful. AI can help different people in unique and different ways, and I think that is much more suited to humans and how we are as people, than the current education system. So I think this is a massive transformative opportunity. And if you look at what people say globally, the two big areas that they think AI will have the biggest impact is in education and health. And I think in both these fields, tailor making the support and the augmentation and the system to each child or each person is what makes the difference. So there's a huge opportunity here to really transform what education means, and that's what Odin is about, and that's what I've decided to commit the rest of my career towards.
Yeah, and I think you've touched on an important aspect there, is that education at the moment is a very one size fits all system. And it's about how do we address the differences within our grades, in our classes, without having to almost teach 30 different lessons because I've got 30 people in my class. But I can still try and cater for those 30 different needs. Same lesson, but just sort of understand, well, this guy likes that, so I can bring that into that lesson. This girl likes that, I can bring that into my lesson, or I can touch on that. How can AI almost be a differentiator? So being able to, this is what I'm needing to teach, or this is the topic that I need to do. How do I manage to cater for, let's say, my visual learners who are more visually stimulated versus my auditory learners who are good at just listening versus my kids who like to move and get up and move around and they like to make things. Is there a way that AI can help with something like that? This is the content, but how do I make sure that I push out that content in the best way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just the way you framed it now, if you frame that question to AI, it could create 4 or 5 different teaching plans and processes. Just at a very superficial level, it could allow you, where you as a teacher wouldn't have the time to think about the various ways in which to transfer a topic or teach a topic, and to consider the different types. Just on that. AI itself could make a huge difference around making it much easier for you to cater to the different needs of the learner. I think the other really exciting thing is to allow for learners, for the asynchronous learning, to allow for learners to learn at their pace. Yeah. So to be able to teach different levels of a particular topic
Yes,
at the same time. Yeah. I always I always say this. Teachers are given an impossible
yes,
task. They're
yes.
given the task of teaching the average child and moving at the average pace. But as every teacher will know, there is no
Mm.
such thing as an average child
Yes.
because every child is different and every child responds and learns at different times at different paces. So you almost, I mean, the entire system is designed around the
Yes.
average. And we as humans, like I always say, show me
Mm.
this average child who gets average on everything, and there isn't one. So
Mm.
um,
Mm. Mm.
I think the
Mm.
system was designed around the technology at the time that was available as well as the need that was available. So we're at this point where technology has taken the step change, and the underlying need has always been subject to every child. And it's that moment where
Mm.
suddenly we're able to make an individual experience within a classroom for every child that is catered to their needs. Um, it's a fascinating
Mm.
time, and the tools are kind of popping up as we
Mm.
go. But this is really the best time to be a teacher, in my opinion, because it's the time um, where you can experiment with a completely new space versus just doing what you've always done. Um, you know, just
Mm.
meeting the expectations. It's really an explore time, and if you're someone who sees the opportunity in kind of um, what's possible, and you have an inner passion for child development, this is the best time to be a teacher, in my opinion. The options around you are significant. I mean, we spoke about neurodivergent children. I mean, there
Mm.
is no better time, in my opinion, to have a diverse classroom today because you
Mm.
really
Mm.
can cater to the different needs with the help of the technology.
Yeah. Yeah, I think being able to give AI the right prompt. I think that is the main thing, is to know how to prompt it correctly. And maybe that's just something practical that you could help us with, Ajit, is so that okay, so basically, when I wanted to know something in the past, I used to go onto Google and I used to type in what I was searching for, and then it would come up with all these options. Then I would have to go into each option and say, is that what I'm looking for? Is that what I'm looking for? Because it would list them in order. And I would have to almost go into each one and check. And then what ends up doing is what? I get completely distracted by something and I go down a rabbit hole and I forget what the original thing was that I was actually asking Google for, because I now go on all these different sidelines. So if we take, for example, one of the most common ones, let's use ChatGPT. I think if nobody has used ChatGPT before, play with that one, right? So let's use that as an example. Why or how do you prompt AI so that, as you say, it's giving me the right information? Or how do I know that it's giving me the right information? Or do I have to just keep testing it? How does it work? How does the back and forth between me and the AI agent or AI software or program work?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, when AI came onto scene, there was this whole field called prompt engineering, which really focused on how to ask AI questions, and um, I think that's a temporary thing. I think as models get better, they'll be able to answer and understand your question a lot better, um, and work with the nuances of individuals. So I don't think prompt
Mm,
engineering as a field, and by the way, Sam Altman agrees with what I'm saying, is that that's going to be a core skill. I think what you've got to do is understand that the technology is
mm,
not like the tools of the past. It's not an answer giver. I always say this to my audiences, think of it
mm,
as the
mm,
input, not the output. It's a collaborator, it's an opinion giver, you know. So when you go to someone for an opinion, or when you collaborate with someone that you know that you may disagree with their opinion. You know that you may just take everything they say, or you may have an alternate opinion. Or when you workshop with someone or
mm,
brainstorm with someone, you kind of look for ideas, and together you come up with better ideas. I think it's important to adopt that frame of mind when you're talking to the AI, when you're collaborating with the AI. And I think I always say this to my audiences is that our biggest handicap is our training, because we've been trained for tools that give discrete yes no answers. A calculator gives you either the right answer or the wrong answer. It
Facts.
doesn't give you an opinion on what the answer could be. Whereas if you ask that a question to an AI, it's
Yes.
literally giving you an opinion, and it's designed around the opinion
Right.
side or the intuition side
So,
of our
so
brain,
that
not
was a
the
question
not
I
the
had was
logical.
how do you, yes.
Sorry,
Yes.
go
So
ahead,
one of
Philippa.
the questions was, how do I know that I can trust AI? How do I know that what they're giving me is accurate? How do I trust it?
Yeah, so as a rule of thumb, AI is getting better at factual answers. Yeah, but it's not consistently better, and it's
Right.
not guaranteed to be better. It and again, that's the tool mindset. You're almost asking when is it going to be, when is the calculator going to be fixed, instead of saying, anybody you talk to, even this conversation, Philippa, you have no guarantee that what I'm saying is right, but you're still engaging with me, and you're still engaging on listening to my opinion. And then what you do once you listen with my
Yes.
opinion is you ask other people for opinions, and we still learn from each other, and we still build from each other, even though you know that I'm not going to be 100% right all the time. You're very comfortable with that. If I was a calculator, you wouldn't be comfortable with that. That's the point that I'm trying to make, is that when you're engaging with AI,
Yes.
think of a collaborator, an opinion giver, and
Yes.
let go of the fact, don't worry that I won't be able to work with something that's giving me an opinion. Of course you can. You work with humans all the time, and all the time you move forward, because, so the thing to remember is it's much more human like than tool like. And I think that's what's confusing a lot of people, because the first time a tool gives you the wrong answer, it's broken. The first time a human gives you the wrong answer, it's not the end of
Yes.
the world. You just kind of work with them, and you take their feedback, and you
Yes.
disagree. So go into dealing with
Yes.
an AI with the mindset that you might disagree
Yes.
with what they. And as long as you're happy with that, and you
Yes.
you understand that, you can leverage it to do a lot of great work. Um, it's like when you say to it, how do I teach a divergent child, this particular topic, or a child that wants to learn a particular thing in a certain way? It's going to give you an opinion, but that opinion may help you come up with your own idea on how to do it, not just follow step by step what it says. And I think
Yes.
that's the frame. As long as we understand that framework, and that's why I spend a lot of time
Yes.
saying, do you understand the technology? Um, and once you do, you kind of see the opportunity to use it, and the kind of things that you can, I mean, one of the things I would, and I'm not a teacher, so forgive me, teachers, if you disagree with what I'm saying, but one of the things I mean, it's a great exploration tool. So it's something that you can debate with, and you can say, what do you think about this, or what do you think about that? And you could do that with your students. You could pick any topic in the world and say, my
Yeah. Yeah.
hypothesis is this is how it was. What do you think? And it's not necessarily going to give you an idea, or the right answer, assuming that there is one, but it's going to give you an opinion. So as long as you take what it gives you as an opinion, and give it the human flavor to that answer, um, you'll be able to use it very successfully.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, as you say, using it as a collaborator, almost a brainstorming partner, especially if you're brainstorming something specific. And like, I often use more than one program. I might use Claude, I might use ChatGPT, I might use Gemini, I might use Perplexity, and I might give them all the same prompt and then see what they come back with. And almost it's like sitting with them at the table and listen to what they each have to say, and then almost make my own summary of what they all are giving me.
And
And I think
Philippa,
that is key there, is that there's no one right answer.
I mean, this point is huge, by the way. And I think it's something that, because a lot of people will say, well, AI is not going to help me think. But just in the example that you gave now, what did you do? You got four different opinions, and you use those
Mm,
opinions to come up with
mm,
something, to help you think towards an answer that you chose. Um, that's how to use AI.
mm.
That's exactly how to use it. That's not taking away
Yeah,
from your cognitive ability. That is actually enhancing your cognitive ability. It's saying I've got multiple opinions here. I'm going to digest them.
right.
I'm going to think from that angle. I'm going to think from another angle,
Mm,
and then I'm going to use that to come up with something that I feel comfortable with. So just the way all you did was you asked a few more
yes.
opinions, and using those opinions, you came up with your answer. One, you're using it as an input, not an
Yeah.
output. Two, you're understanding that it won't be perfect and it might have different answers and
Mm,
so on. And three, you're using that to build your own ideas, which is the key. You're not outsourcing the idea making. You're
right.
still going to build your idea, but you're using it as a tool to help you build your ideas. Um,
Mm,
and as teachers, we use it like that. And I think
yeah.
as our children, we need to encourage them to explore the world with collaborating with AI, not
Mm,
AI as a tool. You know what I mean?
mm.
Fascinating. I love that
Yeah,
example, by the
so
way. I think
so
that's
so
perfect the way you
that
use it.
brings me to another. Yeah, but the thing is, we've got to understand that if kids use AI, they need to be using it not to cheat, but in order to have a discussion with, almost as if you're sitting around the table at dinner and you're sitting with your parents and you're having a discussion about something that maybe you need to do a research, maybe you need to go and do a research study on a project, and you might sit around the dinner table with mum and dad, and you might talk about the topic, and oh, you're going to talk about that, and you're going to improve on these points, and you're going to think about that. That is almost how we want them to use AI. You're not going to ask AI to write the project for you or to write the essay for you, but to help you brainstorm a framework, right, on that project, and then bring in your ideas and then see how you could leverage what AI is saying. But at the end of the day, you need to still make that yours, because you need to check that the information that you're getting from your AI program is correct. So I suppose teachers are saying, learners are going to cheat, right? How do we how do we make sure that teachers don't think that AI can be used? I mean, it can be used negatively, but it's our responsibility, and as teachers and as parents, to train our kids, to teach our kids how to use it in the best way.
Yeah. So look, I think there's a lot of fear around AI, and you know, remember that children could always go home and Google research any topic you give them, or get someone else to write their homework for them. That's been around forever. It's not something new,
Mm,
right? Um, but there are two types of teachers in the world.
yes.
There's the types of teachers that says
Mm,
there is the
mm,
internet out there, and I know that children are going to research, but
mm.
I'm not gonna say, if you research this, I'm not gonna let you put the answer, and
You
you
may
must go
not.
work on.
Yes.
Yeah, you
The
must
minute
go
you
work
say
on it.
don't do it, they want to do it.
No, I think it's bigger than
Yes.
them being defiant. I think it's teachers being, practical about the real world, and saying to them, and
Mm,
I always say it this way, none of us know how this next world is going to look like. And what we should be doing
mm,
is partnering our kids on exploring this world together, versus expecting
right.
them to ignore what's around them and just answer the questions in a way that was relevant probably 20 years ago, you know and saying that's the only way they're going to develop
Mm,
cognitively. I think if you embrace the fact that AI is here, and you encourage your students to not outsource thinking, but to collaborate, you might get your students thinking a lot more and developing a lot more. Um, so I think,
mm,
and I'm going to be controversial. I think teachers that don't recognize that this is today's reality are going to struggle more because the world out there has significantly changed, and we need to be aware that this is how learners are going to learn. And if you, I mean, the flip side is if you
mm,
collaborate with your kids on using AI, and I'm going to use those words quite specifically, you'll be amazed with
mm,
what they will show you on what it's capable of. You'll be amazed. Like if you say to your children, hey, this is the topic we're studying, tell me, how can you use AI to help you understand this topic? Come up with some ideas, do something, you know what I mean?
mm.
Like explore this new world with
Yes.
your children. Um, and you'll see that they will show you pretty amazing things that will help them learn, not take away from their learning. And actually, in the meantime, you're
Mm,
also going to learn some pretty
mm,
exciting things about AI. My kids teach me about AI more than I teach them about AI. Not because
mm.
they have seen
Yeah.
more or have researched more, because they're just so open to trying new and different things than I am, that actually, if I
Mm,
just allow them, the space and the control, and don't be like fighting them on this,
mm,
um, it's a pretty amazing
mm,
time. I have no doubt that you can encourage your children to
mm,
learn better with AI, but you can also fight them and then they cheat and learn less with AI.
mm,
And I think, who's the
mm,
problem there?
mm.
Is it the cheating child, or is it
Yeah.
our denial of the future that's coming? And I say this, and I understand. I'm
Yeah.
not judging any teacher out there in any way. And please understand that, like, the curriculum is very outdated. It focuses on knowledge versus
Mm,
comprehension. It focuses on a world that is no longer exists. I always say that we our education
mm.
system is training our students for a world that no longer exists, and we are hoping
Yeah.
that the
Agree.
skill sets will be relevant in the future. But
Yeah.
the only way to determine what the skill sets that are relevant in the future are going to be is to jump in with both hands and feet and get stuck into this new technology and see what it's about. And only once you explore the
Yeah.
world together will you really be able to determine what is the actual skill sets we need. And I really think that
Yeah.
AI, if used correctly, is going to open your thinking and make you think more than substitute your thinking. It'll substitute your thinking
Mm,
on tasks that were designed before AI was around.
mm. Well, let's say that there is a teacher listening to our webinar who has never tried using AI. I think the first time I was playing around was in 2022. I was sitting, we were on holiday and we were on the beach, and I was listening and learning about what ChatGPT is. I never knew what ChatGPT is. And we just started playing with entering these prompts into ChatGPT. And it was also a very simple, I think back then, 2022, it was also very simple with what it was able to do. But if let's say there's a teacher listening now who's never tried any sort of AI prompting or using AI in their day-to-day, how would you suggest they start? What would you want them to do that will make them go, wow, why didn't I start this using this sooner?
Um, so the analogy I always say is a playground. Um, you know, and I think maybe learn from your children, right? So um, children never have to be given an instruction manual on what to do at a playground. They get there and they just see a whole bunch of things and then they try
Mm.
things. Yeah. And that's what makes
They
them,
go play. They go play.
they go play. And then soon they figure out they can swing in a certain way and they like doing that and it feels good. And then they do that. And then when they get bored of that, they try something else. Um, Learning with AI is exactly the same. So, Philippa, you've gotten to being able to ask 5 different models an opinion on something, and you've been able to workshop it. And the only reason you've been able to do that is because you started. You know, you just
Mm.
started. Um, and
Mm.
there is no. It's like it's much less like a classroom than a playground. In a classroom, there's expected outcomes, there's
Mm.
a clear path on how to get to those outcomes, and everyone's meant to just follow these set rules. Whereas in a playground, there is just no rules. There's a bunch of stuff you
Mm.
can play with, and you try and fall and fail and pick
Mm.
up and go from there. Um, you know, and I really I
Mm.
just that's what we're trying to do in Pareja. We're trying to make sure that people
Mm.
play, just play, and that's the name of my talk, which is
Mm.
just play, which is just play with AI. Just get stuck in, find something, go onto the internet and say what is a cool AI tool, and
Yeah.
just explore with no
Yeah.
agenda, with no like
Yeah.
predetermined
Yeah.
outcome in mind. And if you do that, you start to um, you start to explore this world. We've forgotten how to explore. It's such a human nature, especially
Mm.
like I say, learn from your 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
5-year-old is exploring everything
Yeah.
around the world. Yeah, they put stuff in their mouths all the time just because they
Yeah.
want to see how it tastes. So your 5-year-old will put a stone in their mouth.
Mm.
You won't. Yeah. Why are they doing that? Not because they're hungry.
Mm.
They want to feel and experience the world. And I just really want to encourage teachers to
Mm.
know that this is the world that's coming. You're in the business of preparing children for their future. And if their future is going to include
Mm.
AI, it's something you need to play with. Because how are
We
you
have
going
to
to
play with it.
empower them
Yeah.
for that? Yeah, how are you going to empower them to be in that
Mm.
future if you're not willing to be in that future either? Um, and then I think the
Mm.
second thing is there's two ways you can look at the uncertainty to come. Yeah, because it is uncertain. And when I say nobody knows how this future is going to look, I really believe that in my core. I have no clue how the next 5 years are going to be. And I can claim
Mm.
to be in the space the whole time and, you know, in this industry, etc., and building tools, and I'm doing all of this, but I can tell you I don't know what's coming. So it's not a matter of how
Yeah.
much you're engaging with AI that determines whether you know the future or not. But there's a lot of comfort in
Mm.
that actually it's a complete white space. You can either be scared by the uncertainty or reassured by it, by the same thing. Reassured
Mm.
by the fact that nobody
Mm.
knows and that actually I'm not behind. I'm where everyone else is. We're all discovering the space together. I often say, teachers
Mm.
have to make
Mm.
that mental shift. The biggest, in my opinion, the biggest issue to deploying tech, this kind of tech into the classroom, is the fact that the teachers have to be okay with the students knowing more than they do. In the old system, you're employed to be the one
Mm.
with all the answers. That is your role as a teacher in the classroom. You're the one
Yeah.
who knows the
Yeah.
answer,
To
and your
teach.
job
Yeah. Now.
is to
Mm.
convey what
Mm.
you know to the children. And there's this whole thing of moving from
Yeah.
sage on the stage to a guide by the side. And what we need to do mentally is understand
Mm.
that there are no sages on the stage in the uncertain future. So the only way you can explore this future is by
Mm.
being a guide on the side. And a guide on the side is someone who actually has the interests of
Mm.
the child, the learning development of the child at heart, which all good teachers do, and who's okay with
Mm.
exploration, and all they want to do is guide them to explore like you're exploring, um, to encounter some of the risky stuff and to guide them away from it, and to
Yeah.
also explore what is the risky stuff myself. So I just think it's much
Yeah.
more about how you think about it and how you look at it, uh, much more about that than what you actually do. It's not about what you actually
Mm.
do. It's about the right framework in which to engage with AI. And I strong, that's what we do these monthly AI sessions just to have a community that's collaborating in this space. And the idea is
Mm.
to talk to you, to explore things, to learn things, to not have the right answer, but to have the right questions around playing with this
Mm.
stuff. You know what I mean? To go into that mode.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, the current education system doesn't allow that space for teachers. And I think it's quite exciting that the world's changing because
Mm.
we're going to go back to that space where we're all exploring, we're all learning. And we're okay with the students knowing more than we do. I mean, that's a big deal.
Mm.
I know that's a big deal. It's really hard for
Mm.
teachers to be in an environment where students might know more. But there's nothing wryou know. Um,
Mm.
And yeah, so that's very, I'm very
Yeah.
passionate about this. I really think I value teachers in all of our lives. There are a few teachers who made the difference, and more often than not, it's teachers. It wasn't because they were experts in the subject. It was because they were willing to listen to you as an individual or care about your needs as an individual. It wasn't because they knew the content the best. And therefore, we don't have to know the content the best. We just need to care
100%.
about navigating the children, like exploring with them.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I could not agree with you more. Because I think if you have a relationship with your students and you see them as human beings in this unknown future, and all you want to do is just empower them to be able to cope with what lies after school, and that we are learning together. This period of time that we're in now, we're almost at the same level, because it is, it is moving so fast that I do think that our children are moving along faster than what we are able to keep up. So I think you've sort of really hit the nail on the head there, that we're learning about this together because it's new, and we're learning about it together. We're learning about it in a safe space. There are going to be some rules and regulations and things that we need to be aware of, but we are going to use it in order to enhance, enrich, empower ourselves as people. And I think that's
100%. And
key.
I think I
But
think
before
I think
we, because we're
sorry,
nearing to
one
the
last
end
thing.
now.
One last thing. I just think teachers have much more
Yeah.
human experience than any of their kids. So don't forget, like as a teacher, you know humans and human psychology and human learning much more than any child will ever know. And that's your superpower. The technology, they may know more.
Right.
And I think that the combination is so powerful. So you can explore the technology and the future world together, but you will understand the psychology of a child much more than any child, and that's what they need from you. So they do need the guide by the side. I mean, I
Yes.
think that the role of the teacher is more
Yes.
relevant than it's ever been. um, it's just very much around focusing less on knowing the right answer, but helping the children to navigate this world, while they don't lose their human development, their human the self confidence and the passion and all the things that a great teacher sort of imbibes in their children. That's going to be so much more valuable. And I think, by the way, technology is not in any shape going to replace that, because the humans are still far ahead in terms of the social
Yeah.
psychological development that a child needs. Sorry,
Right. Yeah.
I
No,
felt it
no,
was
no.
very important.
So I think if there are any questions, there is a live chat going along on the side. So we are nearing the end. I've got a few more questions to fire at Ajit, but if you do have any specific questions, now would be a chance to stick them in the comments. We'll bring them up and we'll address them at a time. AI helps me, from Chantel. Hi, Chantel. Hi, AI helps me think. I think I make much better decisions that are more thoughtful and considered than before. Yeah. So again, sometimes, and I just speak, sort of, sometimes I make decisions impulsively. I'm very quick to jump on the bandwagon, and I've learned to kind of slow down and put my thinking into the AI program and ask it to give me, a few options. If I do that, what will happen? If I do that, what will happen? If I do that, what will happen? And it kind of just helps me to slow down and look at different options and the consequences of each one. So I'm with you on that, Chantal. I also sort of ask AI to just sort of, what's the worst case scenario that could happen here if I go ahead? What would be, option B? What would be option C? And what would be, almost the consequences of each one that I make? So that's a good one. She also says, I love this comment. There's no average child. It completely sums all of us up. Yeah, there's no average child. I also love that. So any other questions, guys? by all means, pop it in the comments. We are really unpacking this, but if there's anything specific to your situation, your class or your school, I know, we're looking at drawing up an AI sort of blueprint that parents can have, that kids can have, that teachers can have, to safeguard us possibly using AI in the wrong way. I almost want to try and anticipate potential hurdles. And I would rather, just like when cell phones came into play, we drew up a policy about cell phones, when you can use cell phones, how you should use cell phones, for teachers, for the children as well. And now I almost want to do the same in terms of using AI. When, not when you can use it and when you can't, but how you can use it ethically and correctly. So I don't know, are schools looking at this kind of thinking in terms of protecting the community from, doing the wrong thing? Ajit, do you have any suggestions? Oh, before you answer that, so Mersha says, I like the way you compared it to a child in a playground. Yes, Mersha's a grade. Mersha runs a pre-primary, so she's talking about the playground analogy and how she understood what you were saying with it. Yeah. Thank you for explaining AI so clearly. Definitely more open to give this a try. You've got to give it a try, Mersha. You can't break it, I promise. So Ajit, with regards to policies or procedures that schools can adopt, what would you suggest
Yeah, look,
there?
so Odin's all about making sure that children have access to this kind of technology, but are kept safe in the process. And being in tech, I am very cognizant of the misaligned agendas of these tech companies. Yeah, and the fact that this is amazing technology, but they are not really about safe access or and keeping the interests of our child or even our city at top of mind. So, I mean, this is really what we're about, and that's why we're trying to make a movement in the city. Because on one hand, this is the most amazing technology that's ever been, and on the other hand, it could be the most dangerous if you're not in
Right.
control and if you're not kind of designing it for yourself. So there's a few things I'd like to say. I mean, and please, for those out there, this is just my opinion. Having seen what's out there in terms of tech companies, and also having children of my own. So the thing is, what we build, all the technology we build, I test it on my kids first. Not because I don't love them, but because I think that should be the bar. Yeah, you should have technology that is safe for your own kids. Um, and I think there's a couple of things. So again, these are our opinion. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I'm just telling you how we are going about it. So I strongly believe that individual screen time should be avoided in primary school. I think this is very key that the children develop from a social side, from a personal side, and I think the risk of dopamine addiction from a screen or screen addiction is just way too high in those early years. And whether they outwardly damaged, all children are negatively affected in the early years. Yeah. So if there is screen time, it should be driven by the teacher, and it should be by the teacher in augmenting the classroom. So that's my one thing about screen time in primary school. And I think in high school, it there is no such thing as, or we shouldn't encourage anything as um, independent AI engagement. Yeah. So it. I'll give you a small example. My son has access to ChatGPT. However, he's got it on a screen in the lounge. Yeah. That one, he's using my ChatGPT account, and two, he's doing it where he knows that he's not alone at any time. I can see what he's doing, and I can monitor. And I think this
Right.
technology is that dangerous. Um, the AI
Yeah.
companies see the opportunity. There was the attention economy with screens. It's now moved to the attachment economy, and what AI is able to
Mm,
do is become, a attachment for your child. So it's even more deeper than just,
mm,
attention hacking. So if you think cell phones were bad, the power that
mm,
these companies
mm,
have now with AI, with a misaligned agenda, is significant. And I think that's why we've got to
mm,
find that
mm,
balance. From a tech company perspective, that's what we're doing with our technology, and we're happy to show you guys, showcase how and what we're doing. But it's a full-time tech job. From a parental perspective, unsupervised engagement with
mm,
AI is completely not right. And I think you can
mm,
supervise it
mm, mm,
by physically making the engagements, part of
mm,
adult. And I really believe this is where the adult has to be in the room. We cannot abdicate the
mm,
social
mm.
development to any of these tools. You know, um, and
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
even if you're bringing it in your classroom, bring it in a way that it's a screen at the front of the classroom. It's children can engage, but
Mm,
they engage as a group and under supervision. I
yeah,
really think even in high school,
right.
unless you've got a full controlled system, you've got support from a tech company like Odin on how to do that. Uh,
Mm,
Unsupervised engagement with AI is incredibly dangerous. One, because of the power of the technology, and
mm,
two, because of the agendas of the tech companies. Um,
right,
so
right.
that would be my advice:
Yeah,
is make sure you're involved in any sort of engagement as an adult in the room.
yeah. Yeah, I mean these companions, these AI companions that children left unsupervised are sort of having relationships with, can be incredibly dangerous. So I think, yeah, make sure if you're a parent watching this webinar, make sure that you are monitoring exactly what your child is prompting if they are
So
on AI. But I agree with you.
it has to.
Using your program, your profile means you are monitoring what
Correct.
they're asking as well. They don't have their
Correct.
own. Yeah,
Your account, and in a
yeah,
space that is
mm,
a group space, not an individual space. Incredibly important. I cannot stress this
right,
enough.
right,
Just to give you a sense, Philippa,
yeah,
our AI companion is fully monitored. Even though it's Socratic, even though it's restricted from, it's not like ChatGPT. It doesn't answer anything that's not educational. It
mm,
internally escalates any suspicious
mm,
conversation to a human. What we see is this massive hole with
mm,
all the other tech companies. There is no human in the loop monitoring. There's no escalating to the parent. There's no, I mean, this is really the gap that we see for Odin. That's why we exist, is to
mm,
say that,
mm, yeah,
we need to control this. And what we're already seeing with the conversations on our learner network is how much vulnerability
mm,
children have to these kind of tools. So on
mm,
the one hand, they're could be incredibly powerful for your learner, for your child, uh, could be reinforcing. On the other hand, if it is alone with the AI, it could be very negative. And that's why I think, on your account in a group environment,
yeah,
whether it's, in the lounge,
mm,
at home, access through your cell phone is probably the
mm,
worst thing you can do for your child.
mm, mm, mm. Thanks. Yeah, no, I think thanks for that. So, Ajit, what are your parting words? I mean, if we had to sum up today, and if you had to, again, just give the teachers one takeaway from our conversation today, what would it be? And please do mention the training or the monthly classes as well as we end off.
Yeah. So going back to the one thing is one, get stuck in, um, and understand it for what it is. It's very different to a calculator. It's an opinion giver. It's an input, not an output. And yet it's incredibly powerful when being used in the right way. So, one thing is be out of denial,
Mm,
but also understand what it's about. And if you understand what it's about and you're willing to get stuck in that context, it can be incredibly powerful. Yeah, so that's the one takeaway that I'd like everyone to leave with. And I think, secondly, and I do want to mention, I think what we need is a community around this, and Odin is passionate about building that community in PE. especially. And so we've got the community center in Community Science Center in Nelson Mandela University with the digital rooms, a fantastic facility. And we're going to be using that facility every month to have three different shows, actually. So one is, well, three different workshops, talks, whatever you want to call it. Um, Sorry, four actually, but the one would be for parents and just giving them more tools and specific things they can do to keep their children safe in the AI world. The second is what we call teacher aid. That is to help
Wow.
teachers in this environment, and that's the workshop, Philippa, that you're mentioning that we're doing every month. And the first one is day after
I think
tomorrow.
it's on Wednesday,
Um,
isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, it's day after tomorrow. And
Yeah.
then, so we've got adolescence, which is for parents. We've got teacher aid, which is for teachers. We've got my talk, which is just play, which is more for the general public and anyone interested in AI. And then we've got the AI is coming event, which is basically showcasing AI tools to the public. So, and all of these are 100% free. What we're interested in doing is just making a wider and wider community of people that are, one, navigating AI, navigating it safely, and two, building the future that we want. So unfortunately, we do make it by
Fantastic.
invite, and we encourage
Okay.
anyone to reach out through our site Odin.Africa to try and be part of it. But it's going to be an ongoing thing. It's going to be a monthly thing. So hopefully, using that forum, we can
Okay.
build a wider community.
Okay. So Odin.Africa.
That's right.
If anybody wants to know more about that training, it's www.odin.africa. And then
Yeah.
there's information there.
So we've replaced our website with an AI agent. His
Okay.
name
And
is
the fact that
Kitso.
it's free, I
So
mean, it's amazing.
yeah.
Okay.
So have a chat with Kitso. He'll tell you all about our events.
Okay. Fabulous. So just to sum up, I think really what we sort of touched on here was that AI can be your partner. It's not going to replace you, right? But it's going to be your partner when you're planning your lessons, when you are trying to understand a child better, whether you're needing to draft an email to a parent. It's going to help you be able to be more effective. And it's going to enhance what you do, not going to replace you by any means. So I think that's one key thing there. It's not a substitute. It's to help you be a more effective teacher in the classroom. And it's also going to be it's also not a crutch, but rather a ladder. So rather than sort of allowing you to be more in tune with your students, with the world around you, with your community, if you use it in that way. Teachers, you will always be the human in the loop. Nobody is going to replace you with an AI agent or bot. That's not going to happen. You are the human in the loop, and by being that person who makes relationships and makes sure that your students know that you care about them, you forge that warm-blooded relationship with your student, that they know that you care about them, that you're there every day because of them, not because of the work that you have to do. And then the last thing, I suppose, is the safety through literacy. So you have to be able to read. There's no way that a child growing literacy, comprehension, being able to analyze information, being able to make up your own mind about things, having an opinion, being able to, I suppose, have insight into things. That's not going anywhere. So to protect our young people from any kind of negative influence or any kind of force is to be able to know this is fact, and the internet is there, but it also can, we need to be able to protect and cocoon our children from the dangers of the internet. And for us to know what those dangers are, that's also important, and to know how the systems work. So to the teachers listening, I just wanted to say, before I say goodbye to Ajit, thank you so much, teachers, for giving up your time. We know how busy you are. We really, really do. And I said to Ajit, I do these webinars every month, but I try and keep them to under an hour, because I know that hour is taking you away from cooking dinner, marking books, being with your family, lying and reading a story to your kids in bed. I know that you could be doing that, but instead you are learning about AI here. So I want to thank you for that. I appreciate you. I love you. And you're an amazing teacher, the fact that you've given up that hour to be with us today. And we will hopefully see you next month. We will be doing another webinar more about neurodivergence. We don't yet know the topic, but it will be on neurodivergence, possibly around about dyslexia and accommodations and using dyslexia, using things like the C pen or the scan pen. Watch the space for that. But really, as teachers, we are raising the next generation. What an exciting thing, and we should be ready for anything. So just Ajit, thank you for giving up your time. I know this is a busy week, but I also know that you have loads of energy and you are incredibly passionate. So to be able to come and talk about this topic is something that's very close to your heart, as it is very close to mine. But thank you for your time as well. And I'm going to let you go so that you can get back to your family now and read them a bedtime story or cook them dinner or go and whatever it is that you need to go and do. But on behalf of Education Services, thank you so much for being with us.
Pleasure, and likewise, thank you for the work you do, Philippa. I think what connected us that we were like-minded, so really appreciate the forum and the chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we'll see you on Wednesday. And there's that website again, is www.odin.africa. Go and have a look at that if you're interested in that training. But on behalf of Education Services, guys, thank you so much again. Go and have a lovely evening. And we will see you next month for the March Let's Talk Teaching. Thanks again. Bye now.